Some presidential cars broke down at the most inconvenient moments, others puzzled with their strange design, and still others turned out to be not as safe as they should have been. Can you imagine the state leader's limousine getting stuck on flat ground, or that a regular pickup truck forms the basis of a presidential car as we delve into the world of presidential motorcades? We often imagine indestructible fortresses on wheels, symbols of power and advanced technology. But allow me to lift the veil on the less glamorous side of this story. There were times, not so long ago, when the choice of vehicle for the head of state raised, to put it mildly, questions and sometimes outright bewilderment. I am talking about cars that, for a number of reasons, have entered the annals. Not as examples of engineering prowess, but as instances of poor decisions, technical oddities, or simply not matching the high status of the passenger. Imagine the disappointment when a car meant to showcase the nation's power suddenly stalls in the middle of a busy street, as once happened with the motorcade of the American president right in Europe. Or imagine the attempt to combine the utility of a pickup truck with the luxury of a presidential limousine. What led to the creation of one of the most impractical and commercially unsuccessful cars? In the history of the luxury segment, I mean the infamous Lincoln Blackwood, which lasted on the assembly line for just over a year. These cars, whether due to their unreliability, questionable safety, absurd concept, or reputational losses, remind us that even at the highest level, mistakes and miscalculations happen. We will begin our journey with such examples, with cars that made the world doubt. And presidents actually ride in these. These stories are full of irony, unexpected twists, and serve as a stark contrast to the modern armored giants, which we will discuss later. Prepare to be amazed, or perhaps to sympathize. The fragile armor of early leaders. At the dawn of the automotive era, vulnerability traveled alongside the heads of state. When I look at old photographs of the first presidential cars, I am filled with a mixed feeling of admiration for the courage of those leaders and a chill down my spine from realizing their defenselessness. These were times when the mere fact of a head of state having a car was already a symbol of progress, but safety in the modern sense was not a consideration. Imagine open phaetons or early sedans with thin body panels, large windows that would shatter at the slightest impact, and a complete lack of any armor. President William McKinley was one of the first to ride in a car in 1901, but his journey ended tragically. He was fatally wounded, although not in the car. Theodore Roosevelt used cars more actively, but his card was more of a nod to fashion than a well-thought-out protection system. These early cars, such as the Baker Electric or the White Steamer, were slow, often broke down, and offered no protection against potential threats. The doors, if they existed at all, were locked with simple latches. The roofs were either made of fabric or were absent altogether, and the car's structure, weighing perhaps a couple of thousand pounds, could not withstand bullets, let alone explosions. The danger did not only come from wrongdoers. The roads themselves were far from ideal, and the imperfection of the technologies of that time meant a high risk of accidents or sudden breakdowns in the most inconvenient places, leaving the president and his entourage in an extremely vulnerable position. The contrast with modern limousines, weighing 9 tons and capable of withstanding fire from large-caliber weapons, is simply striking. Those first leaders' cars were more like luxurious carriages with engines than means of safe transportation. And realizing this makes one look anew at the risks those historical figures took upon themselves when getting behind the wheel or into the passenger seat of these fragile symbols of the new era. A pickup for the president and other oddities. Sometimes the pursuit of uniqueness leads design thinking into such thickets where luxury collides head-on with basic logic. I'm talking about those moments when the creators of presidential or near-presidential cars tried to reinvent the wheel by combining the incompatible and ended up with something not quite as expected. The most striking example of such a conceptual failure, in my opinion, is the Lincoln Blackwood, which came into existence in 2001. Do you remember that crazy trend for pickups in America at the turn of the century when they were being turned into symbols of urban chic? It was then that Lincoln's marketers decided that the world definitely needed a luxury class pickup, possibly even for the highest-ranking individuals. The idea was born from a concept car that seemed to be liked by the public. But it's one thing to have a showpiece, and quite another to have a real car. The Blackwood was a monstrous black pickup, available only in one version, priced at $50,250, a huge amount of money at the time. But the funniest part lay in its practicality. The cargo bed, the heart of any pickup, was transformed into a trunk chest lined on the outside with black wood and on the inside with stainless steel featuring a servo-driven lid. This meant you could only carry a couple of golf bags in it. They left it with only rear-wheel drive, making it useless off-road. And the interior was hardly different from a regular Force F-150, just with a Lincoln face attached. It resulted in a vehicle that was only good for showing off, and even that was a stretch. It was neither a practical pickup nor a truly luxurious sedan. It's no surprise that in just over a year, they managed to sell only 3,356 of such cars. This is a vivid lesson even in the world of presidential motorcades, where symbolism plays a huge role. Practicality and common sense have not been cancelled. The attempt to create something ostentatious for the sake of ostentation is almost always doomed to oblivion. Engine stalled. Technical nightmares at the highest level. When the safety of the head of state is at stake, any creak or knock in the car causes alarm, let alone a sudden stop. In the middle of the route, this is a real nightmare for the security service. Imagine the tension. The motorcade is moving on schedule, the route is timed to the second, and suddenly the main car jerks and stalls. Such an embarrassment happened with President George W. Bush's motorcade during his visit to Italy. His specially prepared Cadillac, seemingly a model of reliability, just stalled on a busy Roman street. Video recordings of this moment went around the world, showing a rare moment of vulnerability for the American president. Fortunately, the Secret Service acted promptly. They quickly transferred the head of state to a backup vehicle. But the very fact of such a breakdown makes one think, and this is far from an isolated case of potential problems. Let's recall the commercial failures of some models due to their unreliability, for example the Smart Roadster, which, although not presidential, but it suffered from such frequent warranty issues that each car cost the manufacturer almost €3,000 in additional expenses. Now imagine a similar level of unreliability in a car transporting the leader of a country. Any breakdown is not just a delay in the schedule or a reason for jokes in the press. It's an unscheduled stop, a potential window for an attack, a breach of the security perimeter, chaos, and a high level of stress for everyone involved. Even a minor malfunction, like an air conditioning failure on a hot day or a glitch. In the communication system, it can create serious inconveniences and distract from the main task of ensuring security. That's why modern presidential limousines, like the American The Beast or the Russian Aurus, undergo incredibly rigorous testing, have redundant systems, and are built with a colossal margin of safety. The technical nightmares of the past have taught engineers and security services a very important lesson, a symbol of the nation or a reason for ridicule. The president's car is not just a means of transportation, it is the country's calling card, a moving symbol of power and national prestige. And when this symbol evokes not pride but bewilderment or even ridicule, it becomes a serious problem. History knows many examples where the choice or development of a presidential car led to scandals and public criticism. Let's recall General Motors' attempt to introduce the Cadillac BLS to the European market in 2005. The idea seemed logical, to use the facilities of Swedish Saab, which was then owned by GM, to create a compact Cadillac for Europe. But Europeans quickly saw through the ruse. The car was merely a slightly rebranded Saab 9-3, and not for the better. Why pay extra for American ostentation when you can buy almost the same but more stylish and authentic Swedish original for less money? The project failed miserably, leaving a stain on Cadillac's reputation in Europe. An even more egregious case was the Aston Martin Signet, which appeared in 2011. The English supercar manufacturer urgently needed to reduce the average emissions across its model range to avoid fines. The solution was to take the tiny Toyota IQ, slap an Aston Martin grille on it, outfit the interior with expensive leather, and sell it at a high price as a second car to existing customers. It was such a cynical move that the public simply did not accept it. In 2 years, only 143 of such Astons were sold. This is an example of how the pursuit of formal metrics can turn into a reputational disaster. There have been other cases as well. Criticism for excessive cost, like the multi-billion-dollar modernization of Air Force One under Trump, even though it's an airplane, choosing a foreign manufacturer to the detriment of a domestic one, or simply an unsuccessful design that does not match the high status of the passenger, as with some European projects like the Lancia Thesis, which had high hopes but failed to gain recognition outside of Italy. Each such story is a reminder that the presidential car is always under close scrutiny, and any mistake in its concept or execution can cause a storm of indignation. The indestructible beast Sel Namil. There is something mesmerizing about the sight of the United States presidential limousine known as the Beast. It is a true fortress on wheels. A 9-ton monster covered with thick armor, capable of withstanding explosions and gunfire, equipped with the most advanced defense and communication systems. It seems absolutely invulnerable, a symbol of American power and technological superiority. And it is all the more ironic and unexpected when this indestructible giant finds itself helpless in front of the most ordinary obstacle. This is exactly what happened in 2011 during President Barack Obama's visit to Dublin, the capital of Ireland. The motorcade was leaving the grounds of the American embassy, and at that moment the unthinkable happened. The Beast, apparently due to its size and low clearance, simply got stuck on its belly on a ramp or a high curb at the gate. The massive vehicle, weighing as much as a small truck, got stuck, blocking the exit. Can you imagine the scene? Dozens of Secret Service agents bustling around the immobilized limousine. Journalists from all over the world are capturing this oddity, while inside is one of the most protected people on the planet. The sound of metal scraping was heard. When the limousine tried to move, this incident instantly became a global sensation. Of course, the president was quickly transferred to a backup vehicle and there were no serious security consequences. But The very fact that a super-modern, multi-million-dollar armored vehicle can be immobilized by an ordinary piece of concrete became a reason for numerous jokes and serious reflections. It was a vivid reminder. No technology provides a 100% guarantee against accidents. Even a beast can find itself in a ridiculous situation, demonstrating that in the real world there is always room for unforeseen circumstances. This Dublin mishap has forever entered the history of presidential travels as one of the most memorable and unexpected failures. Learning from mistakes. The path to perfection. Every failure, every mistake, every awkward moment associated with presidential cars that I have mentioned did not go unnoticed. The history of the automobile industry for top officials is largely a history of working on mistakes, constant improvement and learning. Lessons. From bitter experience, let's look back. The vulnerability of early open cars, where the leader was defenseless not only against bullets, but also against the elements. This led to the emergence of first closed bodies and then to the development of the first armored versions. Technical nightmares, like engines suddenly stalling in the middle of a hostile crowd or at an important event. They forced engineers to pay enormous attention to reliability, duplicate key systems from electronics to brakes, and conduct exhaustive multi-thousand-mile tests in the most extreme conditions. Conceptual failures, such as the attempt to make a pickup truck a presidential car or the inappropriate use of foreign platforms. They taught manufacturers to more soberly assess the balance between image, practicality, and public expectations. Embarrassments, like the beast stuck in Dublin, highlighted the importance of considering not only ballistic protection, but also basic off-road geometry, especially for such heavy and long vehicles. Scandals surrounding cost or the choice of manufacturer. They forced the government and protocol services to approach issues of optics, national prestige, and the appropriateness of expenses more carefully. Every incident, every criticism became a catalyst for seeking new solutions, more durable materials, more advanced communication and life support systems. More thoughtful logistics and route planning. The journey from those first, almost defenseless phaetons to modern mobile fortresses was long and arduous. And it is precisely thanks to those very worst cars, those mistakes and miscalculations, that today we can talk about truly impressive examples of engineering art, providing an unprecedented level of safety. Now we move on to them, the best of the best. Oris Senat, the Kremlin's battleship. When it comes to modern presidential limousines, it cannot be overlooked. The Russian Oris Senat. A car that has become a symbol of the revival of the domestic automotive industry in the luxury segment and the Kremlin's answer to foreign counterparts. This is not just a car, it's part of the large-scale Cortege project aimed at providing the country's top officials with Russian-made transportation. The development was carried out by the State Institute, by us. Interestingly, it was not without the involvement of foreign specialists, particularly engineers from Porsche, who helped refine the power unit. The result turned out to be impressive. The Senat is a monumental limousine, exuding power, Saudi, and impregnability just by its appearance. Its length is about 23 feet and it weighs approximately 6 tons, or 13,228 pounds, which indicates a serious level of armor. Under the hood lies a hybrid powertrain based on a 4 and 4-liter V8 engine, providing sufficient dynamics for such a massive vehicle. There were even reports of its potential off-road capabilities, which is significant in Russian conditions. As for the specific characteristics of the armor and protection systems, the Russian government remains silent, which is quite expected for an object of such a level of secrecy. However, there is no doubt that the level of protection meets the highest global standards, capable of withstanding both firearms and explosive devices. The entire project, according to some estimates, cost approximately $10 million for one such limousine. During its development, although the serial versions for open sale, of course, have a different price. The Oris Senat is not just a vehicle for President Putin. It is a statement of Russia's technological ambitions, a demonstration of the ability to create its own luxury and secure vehicles, comparable to the best global models such as the American The Beast or German armored vehicles. It has become an integral part of the image of modern Russian authority. Elegance. Undercover. The British choice. When it comes to vehicles for the leading figures of the United Kingdom, whether it's the Prime Minister or the monarch, what immediately comes to mind is a unique combination of traditional British elegance and the most modern protection. It's not just transportation, it's part of the national image, where style is not compromised. Safety. Let's recall, for example, the car. Former Prime Minister Theresa May's Jaguar XJ Sentinel. At first glance, it was a classic British sedan, but beneath its elegant exterior was a true armored vehicle. Specifically designed for her, it was reinforced with Kevlar and provided protection against explosions. Despite the significant weight of the armor, the car maintained the ability to reach speeds over 120 miles per hour, an ideal combination for a quick getaway in case of danger. And notably, the cost of this car was relatively modest by the standards of presidential limousines, about $310,000. Theresa May's convoy also reflected the British approach. It was accompanied by several Range Rover Sports carrying security and staff. And police motorcycles, BMWs, all selected with taste and functionality. But the pinnacle of British automotive art for VIPs is undoubtedly the Bentley State Limousine of Queen Elizabeth II. There are only 2 such limousines in the world. Both were gifted to Her Majesty in 2002 for the 50th anniversary of her accession to the throne. These unique cars, slightly longer than the standard Bentley Arnage, are equipped with 6 and 7-liter V8 engines with about 400 horsepower. Naturally, they are completely bulletproof and explosion-proof, and the interior is airtight. Airtight! But the most interesting feature is the high doors and roof, allowing the Queen to almost stand up fully before exiting, as well as panoramic glazing so that the subjects can clearly see their monarch. These cars are true works of art where luxury, tradition, and the highest level of protection have merged into one. German precision, indestructible guards. If there is a benchmark for automotive safety for heads of state in the world, its name is most likely German. Armored versions of the flagship sedans Mercedes-Benz and Audi, known as Guard and Security, respectively, have long been the #1 choice for many world leaders who value uncompromising protection and engineering excellence. Take a look at the Mercedes-Benz S680 Guard, used by the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. From the outside, it may look like an ordinary luxury limousine, but this impression is deceptive. Its weight reaches 4.6 tons, of which 2.5 tons are accounted for by the armored capsule. The windshield weighs over 250 pounds. This vehicle is certified to the highest civilian ballistic protection class VR10, which means it can withstand assault rifle fire and explosions. It is equipped with countermeasure systems, smoke attack defenses, and can move even on flat tires. Under the hood is a 6-liter V12 engine with 600 horsepower. And this is the first Guard with full 4-wheel drive by Martin. The cost of such a car is classified, but the civilian version is estimated at approximately $650,000. A similar level of protection is offered by the Mercedes-Maybach S650 Guard of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, which is capable of withstanding an explosion of 15 kilograms of TNT from a distance of just 6 feet and fire from military weapons. Even the doors are so heavy that they require an electric drive. Audi is not lagging behind either. Former Chancellor Angela Merkel traveled in an armored Audi A8, also providing the highest level of security. Even North Korean leader Kim Jong-un opts for German quality, using an extended Mercedes-Benz S600 Pullman Guard, a 5.5-ton armored vehicle, 21 feet long, certified to VR9 class and capable of withstanding underbody explosions. These German guards are true mobile bunkers, created with a manic attention to security details. Dragons and chrysanthemums, flagships of the East. When we turn our gaze to the East, the world of presidential cars reveals itself from a completely different perspective, where advanced technologies intertwine with deep cultural traditions and national pride. In Japan, the land of the rising sun and automotive giants, Emperor Naruhito travels in a truly unique car, the Toyota Century Royal. It's not just an extended version of the luxurious Century sedan. It's something much more. There are only a few of these cars, each with its own specifics, including even a convertible used during the Emperor's coronation in 2019. Inside, the Century Royal. A realm of tranquility and refinement, granite thresholds, upholstery made of natural wool, and a ceiling finished with delicate rice paper. It's the atmosphere of a traditional Japanese house on wheels. At the same time, the car is equipped with a powerful engine, enhanced with a hybrid system to care for the environment. And of course, with all the necessary protection systems, the details of which are kept secret, China demonstrates a completely different approach. Leader Xi Jinping uses the Hongqi L5 as his main vehicle, which translates to red flag. It is the most expensive car of Chinese production, a symbol of power and prestige of the Middle Kingdom in his motorcade. Usually, there are several such cars with a total cost that can reach $4 million. The Hongqi L5 is a massive sedan with a retro design reminiscent of the brand's classic models, but with modern features. Under the hood, a 4-liter V8 with twin turbochargers producing 380 horsepower. And although the Hongqi L5 may not have the same extreme level of armoring as its German counterparts or the American Beast, it is an important symbol of China's technological sovereignty and its growing influence on the world stage. Both cars, the Japanese Century Royal and the Chinese Hongqi L5, are not just means of transportation, they are embodiments of the spirit of their nations. Green light for the Élysée Palace. In a world where presidential limousines are traditionally associated with huge gas-guzzling sedans, the choice of French President Emmanuel Macron looks fresh and truly innovative. He became the first French leader whose official car was the DS7 Crossback, a stylish crossover, and it even has a hybrid powertrain. This choice is not just a nod to the SUV trend, it is a deliberate statement. Macron, known for his active stance on environmental protection, decided to follow his principles even in the choice of official transportation. His DS7 Crossback is not an ordinary production model. Firstly, it is longer than its civilian counterpart to provide more space and comfort in the rear of the cabin. Secondly, it is of course fully armored, meeting all the security requirements for the head of state. But the most interesting part is under the hood. Here, an advanced plug-in hybrid system is at work. A 1.6-liter Zuo 4-cylinder gasoline engine works in tandem with two electric motors, delivering a total power output of 300 HP and providing all-wheel drive for. Yes, it is by no means the fastest presidential car in the world, but it is perhaps one of the most environmentally friendly. This choice allows the French president not only to talk about the importance of green technologies, but also to demonstrate their application by his own example. The car debuted in November 2021. And although the price of the civilian version started at approximately $74,000, the cost of the specially prepared armored hybrid for the president is undoubtedly much higher and is kept secret for the DS7 Crossback Macron. And this is a vivid example of how modern trends, environmental care, and the highest safety requirements can harmoniously combine in a car. For a world leader, an impregnable citadel. Meet the Beast. It is called the Beast, the first car, or by its code name Diligence Limousine. For the President of the United States, this is no exaggeration. The most famous, most discussed, and possibly the most protected car on the planet, created by Cadillac, a division of General Motors. This black monster represents the pinnacle of engineering in the field of safety. The current version, updated in 2018, is an evolution of the 2009 model. Its estimated development cost reached $16 million. And when you start studying its features, you understand why. The Beast is a true fortress on wheels. It weighs about 9 tons or 20,000 pounds, roughly the same as 2 adult elephants. The body walls are about 200 millimeters or 8 inches thick, and the armored glass is 130 or 5 inches thick. The doors, 8 inches thick, weigh as much as the cockpit door of a Boeing 747. They seal the cabin hermetically, protecting against any chemical or biological attacks. The body is made of steel, aluminum, date, titanium, and ceramics. It is capable of withstanding a direct hit from a grenade launcher and mine explosions. The fuel tank is protected by special foam, preventing an explosion even in the event of a direct hit. Kevlar-reinforced tires allow continued movement even when shot. Inside, there is an autonomous oxygen supply system and even a blood reserve, matching the president's blood type. But the Beast is capable of more than just defense. On board, it has an arsenal, including pump-action shotguns, tear gas grenade launchers, a night vision system, and even a device for creating an oil slick on the road to confuse pursuers. This vehicle, the embodiment of the idea of absolute security, a mobile bunker ready for any conceivable and inconceivable threat with nothing superfluous. Every detail is dedicated to one goal: to preserve the life of the President of the United States, a flying Oval Office in the sky. Although our focus today is on cars, a story about the transportation of top officials would be incomplete. Without mentioning the absolute standard of presidential transportation, the aircraft of the President of the United States, known worldwide as Air Force One. Of course, it's not a car, but the level of technology, comfort, and most importantly, security implemented on board serves as an excellent benchmark for understanding how seriously the protection of the leader of the United States is approached. It should be clarified that Air Force One is the call sign for any U.S. Air Force aircraft carrying the president. But usually this name refers to one of the two specially equipped Boeing airliners, 747-200B, or rather their military modification VC-25A. These are not just airplanes. They are flying White Houses, command centers, and impregnable fortresses. The interior space covers about 4,000 square feet, larger than many city apartments. There are presidential suites, conference rooms, offices for staff, a medical section with an operating room, and 2 kitchens capable of serving gourmet meals to up to 100 people. But the main thing is protection. The airplane is equipped with the most advanced communication systems, protected against eavesdropping and hacking, electronic warfare systems to suppress enemy radars, and thermal flares to divert heat-seeking missiles. The aircraft's body is capable of withstanding an electromagnetic pulse from a nuclear explosion. It can refuel in the air, allowing it to stay in the sky for virtually unlimited time. The recent fleet modernization, initiated under Donald Trump, cost approximately $1.4 billion. And the new airliners based on the Boeing 747-8 will be even larger, 250 feet in length and faster, capable of reaching speeds close to the speed of sound, nearly 1 Mach. Air Force One is the absolute pinnacle of technology in the field of VIP transport, a symbol of the power and global presence of the United States, next to which even the most advanced cars seem like just a small part of the vast system ensuring the security of the head of state.